Hey, we're back with the next devlog of our game, Quiet on Set. We're trying to create a no-compromise story game set in the golden age of Hollywood. We're documenting from start to finish the entire production of this game, so enjoy! So our current milestone is to create a vertical slice of roughly the first 10 minutes of the game. And the clip that you just saw is us trying to push that forward.
So vertical slice is, it's kind of like the layers of a cake. If like your game is like a delicious cake, it's got all these different layers of, you know, gameplay and exploration and items and crafting, whatever stuff that you decided to put in your cake. Some games have 20 layers and some games have 5 layers. So vertical slice is like you take a slice of that cake, but you want to sample every single layer. It's not the whole cake, but it's a very thin slice of that cake. So I want to show at least a little bit of every part of the game.
So our current goal is to get this vertical slice, the first 10 minutes of the game, as polished and finished as possible. And in order to do that, creating characters and figuring out the workflow for creating characters is very important, especially with this game. It's going to make or break the believability of the game. And actually with the Pedestrian, our previous game, we specifically avoided making characters because we knew how hard they were to make. If you have played the Pedestrian or watch a playthrough of it, you'll notice every single city street where people should be cluttered, there's not a single human in sight because we just didn't want to take the time to figure out how to do character creation.
Well, and not only do character creation, but do it well. Characters can become hokey really easy.
So unfortunately, we chose one of the hardest challenges for our next game, and we have to kind of master character creation and come up with a workflow that is easy for a small team, just Jed and I, to make a large quantity of believable characters. So the current character pipeline is simply, we need a character mesh, it needs to be rigged, and it needs to be animated by motion capture data, and then we need to eventually bring it into Unreal. Another unique step in that process that we think is pretty special to our game is the ability to add simulation that is baked down onto the characters. Because early on we decided that this game is non-dynamic. You're only ever watching characters do stuff, so everything the characters do does not need to have dynamic aspects to it. We can bake it all down, which means it can be a lot more complex. And because of that, we can use tools like Marvelous Designer, make very realistic cloth simulations, bake that down onto the character, bring it into Unreal, and it looks so much more high fidelity than what you normally would have in a video game, because video game characters always have to move and be dynamic to what the player is doing, and it sometimes looks kind of rubbery. But this is awesome. I mean, I just started fiddling with Marvelous Designer, and as you can see with these character cloth simulations, even with me barely learning anything about it, it looks amazing.
So one of the challenges with the cloth simulation is figuring out the pipeline behind the claw simulation. So in these examples that we've been showing, we're using a format called Alembic, which I've been trying to research and understand, but from my understanding, it's kind of like every single frame is new geometry in your simulation. So the file that's holding this claw simulation literally has, you know, hundreds or thousands of meshes of the claw. So that's one approach. We could use Alembic, and it seems to work great. We will have to do some testing on some larger scale with, you know, multiple characters and everything, and especially we'll have to do some calculations of if we have this dress being simulated for an hour. we're gonna have to think about that. Another approach that we could go with is something called VATS, which is vertex animation textures. And the benefit of VATS is it uses textures to animate your mesh. So you can have an animation in Houdini. You can like bake down the animation where every single change in a vertex position gets encoded into a texture as a as a color on the texture. So every single pixel in this texture represents a movement of a vertex. The benefit of this is textures are really optimized within graphics pipelines and everything, and graphics cards, and then you can compress textures, you know, lower the bit depth of the pixels and everything. So we're still trying to figure out which direction we want to go, but we're definitely going to research VATS and see how that works.
Yeah, so ultimately in the end, because we have 20, 30 characters that need to be created and have a high level of quality, this is hopefully going to be a really nice and easy plug and play way to create characters.
So this game is going to heavily rely on animations and syncing all these animations together with effects and with audio. So we really need a tool that can handle all of that. And in Unity, we were actually looking at using Unity's tool called Timeline, and we actually kind of decided against it after doing some tests and everything. It didn't really have enough features, and there were a lot of edge cases. But now that we're in Unreal, I've been poking around and playing with the sequencer tool, and it is actually pretty dope. There's a lot of features, and I think a lot of it is because Unreal has been going into virtual production, so they put a lot of work into this tool. So we don't know yet if this will work for everything, but we're gonna go down the road of using the tool and see what happens. So when we were using Unity, one of the things I created was a tool for reading Daniel's script, and then it would auto-generate audio based off of the text using a service called Replica. It would generate the audio, and then it would lay out the audio in time separated for each character, and then it would show kind of the entire story as this massive timeline. And so we kind of want to carry over as much of that as possible into what we're doing in Unreal. And for a little while, we're going to have this kind of mishmash of still using some Unity things while we're using Unreal. And that's something I've been working on recently, is to have the audio that's been generated in Unity pulled over to Unreal and integrated into their sequencer.
Yeah, because the point of this text-to-speech is simply for iterating on the story. We are not going to use that in the final game. We'll have actual actors for that. But while we're trying to get proper timing of where characters are and how long it takes for them to say something, having this auto-generated voice will be very helpful for us to iterate and lay everything out in an actual timeline. So when I get time between working on different things in the game, I try to continue to work on concept art. One of the main characters in the story goes off on his own for a while, and we needed another character for him to interact with while he's by himself. And so we thought that, especially back in the golden age of Hollywood, animatronics was this new thing that was being used a lot in movies, and we just thought animatronics would be such a fun thing to add to the story. And it's a monkey. He'll be pretty cool. The main reason why we actually came up with this monkey, it's a freaking monkey. It will be a fun character, kind of like an R2-D2 type, where he's just like a sidekick, adds a little bit of life to some of the other characters.
Yeah.
In addition to him being a part of the story and adding value there, the original reason why we came up with him was to help in terms of gameplay. When you're walking around, you need to have this other play mode where you can take control of something that can access other areas or grab things for you, and it'll follow you around. So we have this little robot sidekick while you're playing the game. So you're not just this lonely person all by yourself in this empty studio. You got this little sidekick character that'll add some fun. So there's another devlog down. We're really happy with the progress we made. I hope you liked it, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace. Bye.